So let's look at the next stage in Locke's thinking here, and let's look at two chapters together. Chapter 2 of Simple Ideas, and the excerpt from Chapter 12 of Complex Ideas. Why should we look at them together? Well, let's look at the beginning of Chapter 2. Locke says, "The better to understand the nature, manner, and extent of our knowledge, one thing is carefully to be observed concerning the ideas we have, and that is that some of them are simple and some complex." So let's start with simple ideas. What does he mean by simple ideas? Well, to continue, though the qualities that affect our senses are, in the things themselves, so united and blended that there is no separation, no distance between them, yet it is plain, the ideas they produce in the mind enter by the senses simple and unmixed. What is a simple idea? Well, let's take a simple perceptual experience of an object. Our trusty coffee mug. Now, there's no doubt that when I perceive this mug, I perceive it seemingly as a whole. That is, I perceive it as an existing thing that has several qualities, and all of those things come together. That is, they naturally go together. It's, for instance, its color, which is, I guess, green. Its smoothness of its surface, and the sound it makes when it's tapped. The warmth of it, it's kind of cold right now, cool. All those things come together as a whole, but Locke says, well, that's because we're not really taking notice of what's happening in our perceptual experience. A simple idea is something like greenness, or smoothness, or coldness, if that's an idea. Those are simple ideas. Simple really means simple in the sense that it cannot be broken down into parts. It's simple, it's basic, it's uncompounded. And that if I think about my notion of this cup, it is really a complex, certainly, but a complex that is built up out of simple ideas, simple, uncompounded ideas. And it's those simple ideas that, for Locke, are the basic building blocks of all of our ideas. For though the sight and touch often take in from the same object and at the same time different ideas, as a man sees at once motion and color, the hand feels softness and warmth in the same piece of wax. Does that sound familiar, piece of wax? Yet the simple ideas thus united in the same subject are as perfectly distinct as those that come in by different senses. That is, that even when we experience the simple ideas of what we take to be one object and all its simple characteristics, they are actually distinct ideas. The greenness of the color, the smoothness of the surface are actually simple ideas. And these are the basic foundational building blocks of our experience. He says in section 2 of chapter 2, the mind can neither make nor destroy them. These simple ideas, the materials of all our knowledge, are suggested and furnished to the mind only by those two ways mentioned above, sensation and reflection. When the understanding is once stored with these simple ideas, it has the power to repeat, compare, and unite them even to an almost infinite variety, and so can make at pleasure new complex ideas. But it is not in the power of the most exalted wit or enlarged understanding by any quickness or variety of thought to invent or frame one new simple idea in the mind. That is, that we are entirely passive in our experience of simple ideas. That is, they cannot be created by us, nor can they be destroyed by us. They are like our usual notion of matter, which can be neither created nor destroyed. So, that is, the simple ideas come in a passive way. But he's already mentioned complex ideas. And as you might anticipate, we look at chapter 12 of Complex Ideas. Complex ideas are not simple. They can be broken down into parts. They are compounds. Compounds of what? Well, as he says in the first line of chapter 12 of Complex Ideas, made by the mind out of simple ones. That is, we build up complex ideas ourselves through relating, assembling and relating the simple ideas which are furnished through our sensations. We have hitherto considered those ideas in the reception whereof the mind is only passive, not active, which are those simple ones received from sensation and reflection before mentioned, whereof the mind cannot make one to itself, nor have any idea which does not wholly consist of them. But as the mind is wholly passive in the reception of all simple ideas, so it exerts several acts of its own, whereby out of its simple ideas the others are framed. That is, we begin to work on spontaneously. This is a psychological observation that we work on in our minds these simple ideas, which again we receive wholly passively, that we begin to be active, to actively work on them. And what are the ways? He says, number one, combining several simple ideas into one compound one. The second is bringing two ideas, whether simple or complex, together and setting them by one another so as to take a view of them at once, by which way it gets all its ideas of relation. So we can build simple ideas up into complex ideas. We can also put simple ideas or complex ideas next to each other to relate them to each other, and we get these ideas of relations. And the third, he says, is separating them from all other ideas and accompany them in their real existence, and this is called abstraction, and thus all general ideas are made. So there's three basic operations that we perform on these simple ideas. We build up complex ideas out of them, and we'll see in the next section what he means by that. We learn how to relate them by thinking of simple ideas together, relations like identity or equality, not identity, I guess, equality, greater than, less than, those sort of things, basic relations. And thirdly, we abstract. We come up with general ideas, which is a very important part of Locke's epistemology. So we're leading up really to chapter 23, the last section about substance, and we'll see how it is that the mind seeks to come up with this complex idea of substance, which is of course very important in Descartes, very important in Aristotle, and we'll see Locke's reasons for rejecting this idea.